it's hysterical. But we got them right at about 50 pounds, 23 kilograms. I learned that. And so they were able to go on the plane with no problem. Next we have, again, they're still fighting over tracks. Mrs. Bell was here. It was a little chaotic, trying to get as many in there as we could. And all of those tracks, these are Bibles in the box there, French and Swahili. And so we got those all shipped off, or actually carried them. There's all the guys smiling. You'll see those smiles change over the time. But we were waiting on, we had to pick up an extra suitcase, and so we're waiting on getting that in place. That was right over here at Ollie's. Here's us on the plane. We joked about we should probably get these colors for our church pews. You like those colors? Anybody vote? No? Okay, we won't do that. And so here we have Brother McCullough, obviously Paul. You can see what this is, they switched up his name on us. His name's Marlon, but they said that was a girl's name in Africa, and so he became Brian because that's his middle name. Marlon, and then this is Brother Andrew. They're both from Texas, and they were a great pleasure to be with during the time. Next, I don't see Grant. Grant, he's probably hiding. I think he's sitting right. Got rescued and didn't have to go because my passport had problems. But it was fun carrying all of that stuff through the airport, and that is JFK there. And so then here we are. This is when we arrived in Zambia. Again, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning there. This is Pastor Ricky and his wife, and this is Philemon. He was driver, mechanic, do whatever needs to be done kind of guy. And so that's us. After we made it through all the airports, and I didn't even show these pictures, but we just came out of an airport, and poor Grant had a couple of his bags just opened up and taken out, and literally it was tracts and Bibles. And so they were like, oh, it's all good. You get to put it back and go. So that was us arriving there at about 3 in the morning. These are some little kids in Zambia. We went to a church service. This building, you'll see some other pictures of it. It's about 16 feet wide. It's not even as wide as our room here. And it's about probably 30 feet long. And there's these little wooden benches. They had about 70 kids and probably around 15 or 20 adults in there. And these little kids sang their hearts out. They were amazing. So that was in Zambia. Next picture is a video. Okay, this was right after that church service. This lady's 95 years old, and her Bible just recently got stolen. And so we went and gave her a new Bible. He gave her about 15 years ago her other Bible when he started the church. And so he's just reminding her of that. And she was like hyperventilating. But there's something when we hand her the Bible, just the way that he's telling her there that we're going to hand her the Bible, and she's... Why are they looking at me? There we go. And she's just saying, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. She had actually told her family, I'm ready to go, but I don't want to go till I get my new Bible. And so we were waiting to hear if she actually went to heaven, but and the little room room we're in, the only thing lighting there is candles and our cell phones. There's no electricity. There's me bringing the Bible in again. No. There's another church in Zambia. This is actually the church that I preached at. And they rent this building from a school. We'll all see pictures of the outside of the school where several of the guys got to teach. But very open over there to be able to present the gospel. And I preached there, and then they wanted a group photo. And so we had to all get lined up. And you'll see, here's me, the little girl sitting on my lap. You've all seen a picture of her. And see the conniver in the back? Yeah, that's Paul. That's right after he took that little girl, picked her up, and just set her on my lap. Ripped my heart out. And I told him, I said, you know, most people get to know me before they make me cry. He did not. He was like, here, have this. But it was a great time there. And again, that's Pastor Ricky off to the right. And there she is. You say, well, what's her name? I believe her name is Darlene, but her nickname is Henry, because the two different stories I got. We didn't have a lot of communication. I'm struggling right at the moment, but this little girl, you can't really tell, but her feet turn out. And so when she walks, obviously her little Crocs fell right off when he picked her up and set her in my lap because she doesn't have the strength to hold her feet. But when he set her down there, and I don't say this to be mean, but I just want to give you kind of a perspective, she smelled like urine. And it's not uncommon there to have odors just surrounding you. But look at the little face. I mean, she's happy, she's smiling, and she walks almost a half a mile to get to church. And that's with the cane and the little feet turning out. And I was a mess the rest of that night because I'm like, if I had to walk a half a mile to get to church with healthy legs, I probably wouldn't do it. And here she walks that far. And so keep little Henry in your prayers. There are things they can do to correct her feet, but again, the family has no money, so there's really a slim possibility that that's going to happen. Next we have, oh yes, this is, I have to explain. Notice my friend. I told you he'll appear in many pictures. But this is the first place we stayed in Zambia. Now they're telling me, you know, they're building it up. We're going to be camping out in the wilderness. You know, we're going to be sleeping in a hammock. And we walk into this place. I'm like, this is not really roughing it. And you'll notice the blue, what are they, neon lights, LED lights, yeah, around the inside. And then I don't know if I have the pictures of, I had the master bedroom in this lodge with my own bathroom. I'm like, this is not really missions work. But notice the zebra print on the drapes there. I sent my wife a picture of it, and I'm like, no, really, we're on missions trip. It looks like we're doing other things, but we're really on missions trip. But this place was awesome. It's actually a lodge. There's a conference center. I think there's 10 or 12 of these different apartments. Obviously, a large living room. I'm sitting in the little dining area. Then there's a huge kitchen. And Pastor Ricky is going to use this to do marriage conferences for the national pastors there. And they'll be able to come, stay in one of these with their spouse, and really have a good time for the marriage conference. And so I just wanted you to see that picture to know that we were really roughing it. Here's back at the school. This is Brother Andrew. He's preaching or teaching a lesson to the kids. And again, look how well they sit and listen. They're glued in. You have to be careful if you crack a joke because it goes through the interpreter and then it may not come out right and the kids look at you funny. And if it does come out right, they're laughing hysterically, and then trying to get them calmed back down is an issue. But he was able to teach there, and 3 of the other guys are in different classes at the school property at the same time. And literally, You just go in, you open the Bible, and you can teach them a Bible lesson, and this is not necessarily a Christian school. And so it's just an awesome opportunity. But notice the construction as well. You see the block up top. Well, that whole wall is block, and then they just smear concrete to make it smooth. And then the rustic rafters. Really the only thing holding those rafters up is the way they build the block up around the end, because it wouldn't take too much of a wind to take that right off. But that's what they have as a school building. Next we have, this is a guy just walking through the property, and I just took the picture just to show you how clumped together all of the little huts and cottages are. And that's just one shot of a massive neighborhood back there, but just packed in. And most places are surrounded by a brick wall, sometimes 5-6 feet high, other times a little higher. But next we have, okay, this is on the same property. That's the same brick wall. It's the other end of it. Here's a little cornfield, but there's the reason we're looking at it is they bought this section over here. People are like, you look angry. I'm like, the sun was in my eyes, okay? But the reality, they bought this little piece of property where they're eventually going to put a building for the church. Now that's separate from the school that's there. And so his plan is to see if they can eventually just purchase the school and have it be a Christian school. And so you look at it and you go, man, that's some vision. And you really can't even get the whole picture, because about the distance between those guys, like he's about 5 feet higher than me. I'm standing down in a dip. And they're like, yeah, we're going to build our building right here. And I'm like, you need to bring a dozer in and level this thing off, because there's just no way. But they're excited about it. They can't wait to get the building started. And so that's one of the properties that Brother Ricky is involved in, building a church. Next we have, this is just another shot of part of the school, and this is their playtime. Soccer balls flying everywhere over there. Most of them are flat. They're not even pumped up. But these guys devote their life to playing soccer. And this is actually outside of the building that Brother Andrew taught in. Again, just another shot of them playing soccer. More school buildings down there, the yellow, where the younger kids were. And then this is also in Zambia. This is a restaurant that we stopped at, because, you know, one of the things they told me is that you will definitely lose weight. Well, I'm happy to report I lost 4 pounds. But I got home on a Friday night. By Monday, it had found me. So the whole weight loss program must be a different mission trip, because it didn't happen. But this was actually along the highway. It's called the Fig Tree Cafe, and it's owned by an American. And they run it. Most of their fruits and vegetables are grown right out behind the place. And they had delicious food. You know, you're nervous because you're in a foreign country and you're ordering, but we actually got stuff, and I'm like, wow, this looks, and it was delicious. So I would suggest, if you ever go to Africa, stop by in Zambia and eat at the Fig Tree Cafe. This is the table outside where we ate. And this is our group, and then our group back there. That's Pastor Ricky and his wife. And just a neat area. People have asked about the temperature. It was not hot. It was beautiful. There was a nice breeze while we're sitting there eating. I know it's probably supposed to be hotter normally, but it was probably between 75 and 80 degrees with a nice breeze. And so it was beautiful. Next we have one of my favorites. This is obviously Brother McCullough, and he's worn out from traveling. This is on our journey from Zambia up to the Congo, where we spent. They said, "Oh, it's only a couple hours." Well, we hit traffic, and like literally, we're going 5 feet, stopping, and it was hours. It was supposed to be about 2.5 hours. It turned out to be 5, and so that was him. Now, I was mean enough to get a picture of him. I don't know if he got a picture of me when I was looking like that on the other side of the car or not. But we spent some time doing stuff like that. And you'll see some more through the place here. But this is, again, the little church building in Zambia there with the little kids, 70 of them packed in there. We handed out the bracelets Brother McCullough has told us about, and the kids love them. You have to be careful, though. Not so much here in Zambia, but up in Africa, or up in the Congo, they're sneaky, little connivers. They will come and get one, and they know that they all look the same to us. So they sneak to the back of the line, and they'll come in again. And you have to watch. If you have one going like this, you know, you're like, hey. And they're like, and their eyes get about this big, and then you're like, let me see your other arm. And they know what you're saying. There's the language barrier unless you're trying to call them out on some sin. But there was, like I say, 70 kids in there. Next, that's the outside of the building, Emmanuel Baptist Bible Church. These two guys, again, from Texas, they're just trying to figure out what the guy from New Jersey's doing. I don't know what their problem is. They're supposed to be paying attention and singing. And Pastor Ricky's wife as well. She's like, I don't trust this guy. And she shouldn't. I was taking pictures. But again, look at the building there. Like not even evenly cut, just thrown up. And it started to rain while we were there. The kids just keep singing. They're just happy to be there. Next we have, that's where it started to rain. I don't know if they're praying for rain or against rain, but it looks like Brother Andrew's like, no. Inside shot of the church building. Again, the only light in there is not only our cell phones, but Pastor McCullough has a little lantern type thing that's battery operated. And I think at this point I'm actually holding it with one hand and trying to take a picture with the other. But that's the only light they had in there for that. Here we are back at the school handing out the bracelets. And yes, they are cute, but they're connivers. I think it was this little guy here that came through twice. And, you know, it's funny. They know, like you watch their face and you can tell because they're watching you. And if you just go, they're like, they know they should run, but they don't. But yeah, great kids. This is, you say, well, a picture of a tree. This is actually a termite mound. And you can't really tell from that picture, but that's about 10 feet in the air. And then the tree grows out the top of it. And they're all over the place. But that was kind of the coolest looking one with the background and everything. Some of them, you know, you could see the whole root system coming down and surrounding the termite mound. But what they do is they take the mud from the termite mound, which is literally a mixture of dirt, termite saliva, and termite feces. And that's what they build the clay bricks out of to build their houses and their church building. And so it's amazing. I didn't get any pictures of this, but what they'll do is they'll take that stuff and they'll make these blocks. They'll stack them up, and then they'll build a fire under it to kiln dry them so that they harden. And it's amazing that they just work that hard to build what they have. Not that they have a lot, but next, this is Pastor Bell on the weight loss program. Pastor Ricky took us to this restaurant, and it was like, I told Brother McCullough, I said, you cannot tell people that you're going to lose weight on these things if you allow the pastors to take us to places like this. Delicious chicken, French fries, rice, just all sorts of stuff. It was amazing. And more chicken than we could eat. It was crazy. But as you can tell, I'm not doing well at losing weight. There's another picture of, this is me preaching at the church where I met little Henry. And I was talking about the love of Christ constraineth us. And not only does the love of Christ constraineth us, it constraineth us from our past. You know, we're not bound by our past. There was a lady sitting here. She's not sitting there right now. It's funny. They had a prayer request time before, and she raises her hand, and So Pastor Ricky asked her, what her prayer request is, and she said, "Could you ask Jesus to give me the power to give up heroin?" And I'm like, whoa, okay. Now, in my message, I was preaching on the love of Christ constraining us from our past. Is about the time I got to that point, she got up and walked out, and I'm like, Jesus was about to answer your prayer, and you're outside probably doing heroin. But it's just one of those things. She came back in later, and we were able to talk to her a bit. But just a great opportunity there to preach. This interpreter, I want to say he's like 24, knows a couple languages. He is getting ready to go pastor a church. But has anybody ever taught or preached with an interpreter? It's Brother Jeff has, Brother Mike. It's crazy because you say something and then you're waiting, and like I could say a sentence that's like 12 words long, and he can sum it up in 2. And I'm like, "You're done already?" And then I can say something that's like 4 words, and he'll take a minute, and I'm like, "We got to get together, buddy." But he was awesome because as I was getting ready to stop my sentence, he jumped right in and took off, and it was just like there was no downtime, there was no dead air. He's really good at what he does, and so I appreciate his commitment to that. Next we have, this is me preaching again silently. How many would love to hear that on a Sunday? Yeah. Fine. It was only women that raised their hand. I know what I'm preaching next Sunday. Thou shalt not hearken to thy wife. There's singing at the church, and they sing. There's the lady right there. She's the one praying about heroin, and again, Pastor Ricky told us. He says, "You don't know. She could be, a social heroin user, or she could actually be addicted to it." I have some concerns about her truthfulness because I had a conversation with her later, but that's beside the point. This is Pastor Ricky's home, and this is a Filipino community that he lives in. He is also Filipino, and they get together on Wednesday nights and have a meal and a fellowship time, and they were all so excited to bring this meal because they knew there were American missionaries there, and so again, part of the weight loss program, they fed us way too much, but it was a blessing to be there. And they just have a time of singing, and it's crazy because they just keep singing. They'll have their phones and got the words on the phone. Got a guy playing the guitar there. Then they had us sing for them, and we did not sound as good as they do. But there we go. We had noise. Yeah, that's it. That's all right. These two guys that are laughing back there, both of them have amazing voices, and I think they were trying to figure out who was going to sing the solo. And the thing is, this is Pastor Ricky's home. Not all of these guys are saved. This guy here is the president of the community. He's Catholic. But he shows up at this fellowship time, and Pastor Ricky's like, we'll just keep going. And that guy actually allowed us to use his own personal vehicle for the transportation up to the Congo. And so he's very, very generous individual. There we go. There's Pastor McCullough, obviously, and this is little Shanna. This is Pastor Junior and Sheena's daughter, and you know your pastor loves kids. This one would not. She kept me at a distance the whole week. She's like, it got that awkward. I'm like, okay, fine. She would back up against me
If I was sitting down, she'd back up against me. She'd put her whole body right against my leg. And if I reached down and talked to her, she'd be like, I'm like, just to punt her out the window. But eventually I did get to hold her because her mom just scooped her up and sat her on my lap. But she's adorable. These little guys are out in the village. Notice his cell phone. No power, I can tell you. I'm not even sure it has worked in years. I didn't notice this, but notice the goat squatting in the background there. Yeah, it's just some of the wildlife there in the Congo. Again, people say, what kind of wildlife did you see? A squatting goat, that's about it. That goat wandered around that community for the days we were there. And then there was a pig also, we'll see him, I think, and then some chickens. But these little guys, that's what they do. This is Pastor Junior. Pastor Junior, he was there at the mission house where we were, but Pastor McCullough and Brother Paul helped him move. They went to Kisangani, and they're starting a new ministry there. He's the father of the little girl that hated your pastor. And that's the church building that I preached in. Again, just look at the walls, how rustic they are. This is the pastor here. And I think that's his son right to the right of him. They were so honored that we were there. It's crazy. I mean, you see what they have. They have chairs set up, a couple wooden pews. This whole back is open. The whole front is open. So that's their air conditioning, which they didn't really need the time we were there. But again, there's Pastor Andrew. This is Sheena and little Shayna there at the church. This is their pulpit. It killed me, really. Where Pastor Junior and I were sitting is right here. And this is a little table they put in front of us. And to make it special, they had a rose sitting there. And it's like so rustic. But you could tell they were out there early getting everything ready. This is their sound guy. He's not a professional at what he does, but he does. He turned on some music that the pastor was not thrilled about, and turned it on at a volume the pastor was not thrilled about. And I was just like, I'm not in charge here. I'm nothing. I'm just here to preach. But notice how rustic the concrete floor is. But again, this is a church that they've put a lot of work into, just manual labor. If you go down off the platform here and out the side door, they're actually building bathrooms. And not what we have as bathrooms. It'll literally be 2 stalls, one for the men, one for the ladies, unless there's 2 ladies that need one or 2 men that need one, and then they just become that. But again, just all the work that they put into this and the structures that they build. There she is, being unhappy with me. That is actually in the church building there. This is where she eventually backed up against me, but obviously you can tell she is not a fan of Pastor Bell. She's adorable though, yeah. Here we are in the, I don't know, I think this is the second bike I was on. I can't remember because I was on 3 different ones on the way in and 1 on the way out. But as you can tell, MySpace is no longer a thing. Again, you can see my little friend hanging out behind me there. But you get really close with people in a very short amount of time. And this guy is literally riding on the gas tank. And these guys drive, motocross should go over and get some of them. These boys can drive. And they that's how they make a living. They drove us 52 miles into the village. And yeah, that's me saying, pray for me. Again, different color bike. It's a red bike. The other one was blue. So that's at least the second bike I was on. My little friend's still hanging right there by me. My favorite part on the bikes, notice this little basket. Like, if you're trying to be manly, don't put a pink basket on your bike. But a little pink basket, and I don't know that it's maybe a little pebble you could carry in it, but there it was. And just, this is a pastor. This is actually the pastor that kind of set up us going to that village, Pastor Andrew. Just a humble guy. He's got to be, I would say, in his 60s. You wouldn't want to keep up with him. He actually carried one of the other guys' packs, and he was still leading our pack. And we're like, somebody hand him another pack. to slow him down. He just kept going, but he was a great blessing. This, literally, this is where we traveled down through there. Now, this is not just discoloring in the road. This is actually a washout, and you can see where we have to drive around stuff. But we would come to the top of one of these, and you'd look, and it's like, okay, somewhere down here we've got to be arriving. And we would get to the other side of this and still keep going. And it's like, we're never getting there. I think we're driving off the face of the earth. But notice the power lines. You would think everybody back there has electricity, but what that is there's mining going on back there. And so a lot of the mines, Chinese run, will have power going to them, and it'll just surpass all the villages where people could use it, actually. Next, there we are arriving at the one village that we drove the bikes into. And they literally, like we go, they had chairs set up for us. They had a little tent so that we wouldn't be in the sun. And these kids just swarmed. I mean, they just piled. There had to be probably 200 kids at one point just piled around us. And it's funny because you'll see, like this little one here, she's right up against my chair. And you'll feel just somebody reach up and touch your arm. It's like they want to touch the Musungu. Musungu is the white man. And they'll just bump up against you, and if you look at them, they're just like it wasn't me, you know. But they just want to get close, and they love to have their picture taken. You know, some of them, you can tell they pose regularly. They're like, got their faces. And then we tried to get some of them to smile a little bit later, but that's the first village we went into on the bikes. There, yeah, see, look at her. She's like, what is this thing? She's like, and this little guy here, you know, if you see the picture from back farther, you can't even tell somebody's there. You zoom in, and there he is. He's one of them that kept touching me. Look at her just touching the chair. You see him all on the back, touching the chair, and every once in a while you feel a hand on you to see if you're real or something. I don't know, but they do. Yeah, I wish I knew what was going through her mind. She's like, I've never seen that much hair on somebody's face. I don't know what's going on here. Yeah, it's funny. Here's one of the roads that we went in, and I was talking this morning about them taking. We did not go on this on a bike. One of the pastors took his van up in here, and I mean it was crazy. It was like, you know, and they just drive. They're just like, we're in the back, like, you know, and they think it's great. And it was, I did not need a chiropractor when we were done there, or I did, I can't remember. But again, that's a lot of what the road looked like getting there. And we'd come down. I didn't take a picture of this because I didn't think it was appropriate. We come down to an area where there's a bridge, and I mean, there's some water flowing underneath. You have ladies doing their laundry, and you have little kids skinny dipping. I mean, they're jumping off it, stark naked, and they think it's the coolest thing. And we were like, shield your eyes, you know. But it was eye-opening for sure. But that's one of the roads. Again, here's where we were on the bikes. The only reason this road looks somewhat kept up is because of the mining that goes on. The big trucks that have to go through there, they do somewhat keep them a little nicer. But again, it's not a road you'd want to go 55 miles an hour on. You'd lose your mind. Again, those two pictures, one is looking one way, one's looking the other, just to give you an idea of how far it really is that we had to travel. We did a couple times stop, get off the bikes and stretch, because we had some old people on there, me being one of them. Oh yes, this is probably... That is probably Brother Paul, yes. He's cheering like nobody's business. Yeah, that was the other shot. That was, Grant lost his hat there. I almost wrecked our bike because I saw his hat blow off and land on the ground, and I tried to dip down and grab it. And when I did, I didn't realize this, but my weight and the bike kind of went like this. And that's why I say the guy can drive, because we didn't kill each other, and he brought us out of it fine. But yeah, it was. I told them guys, I said, we look like the baddest girly bike gang you've ever seen in your life. You were. There we go. I just took a couple pictures of the bike. I love this one because look at the wrap on that. I mean, he didn't settle for just blue or red. He went all stylish, and just amazing what they do. Again, nice stylish bike, and then he's got his pink basket. But just, I didn't get to ride on that one. I rode on one of the boring ones. But there we are again at the village. Just trying to show you some of the outfits that they wear. Notice most of the women are wearing skirts, and modest skirts. Somebody asked me a while ago, they were like, what was one of the most surprising things you saw there? I said, the modesty. Other than the little kids jumping off the bridge into the water, most of the women, skirts to the ground, and very modest. It was refreshing to see. But and there's some wildlife in Africa. I love the little hairstyles. If you see her, I mean, it just looks like she's got little bolts tied in her head, but she doesn't. They take time and actually, again, there was obviously something off to the side that was drawing their attention. And this one here, as we're taking the picture, if you see the picture on my phone, it's a live picture. And as the picture's being taken, she moves in to be closer to the Musungu. And it's just funny to watch. But here's Pastor McCullough handing out tracts. And again, see them reaching? You cannot get the tracts out fast enough. In fact, if you don't get them out fast enough, the crowd literally starts to push against you. And they'll actually fight to push each other back and try to get each other to wait their turn. But they literally want whatever you have. And honestly, some of them probably don't even know what they're reaching for. But the fact that they're getting something, but they just can't get enough. There he is handing out tracts. There's Pastor Andrew handing out tracts. Here we are. This is Moses' house, not the one from the Bible. But it's a neat story. This man Moses, he is a mason. He was in Lubumbashi working on one of the buildings in the area, and he went to and visited the Baptist church while he was in town. And he sat through a service, and he's like, we don't have preaching like this in our village. We need it. And so he's the one that arranged with Pastor Joshua, or Pastor Andrew, I keep calling him Pastor Joshua, that we would come out there. But this is his home. This is their dining room. The table, it's not even really a table. It's two different benches set up as a table. Rice. This would be pakari. Does anybody know what pakari is? Okay, it's like mashed potatoes that they wad up in a ball and eat. I did not try it. You say, oh, you had one opportunity. I'm one of those. I'm not from the show me state or the let me eat it state. I'm like, you go ahead and try it. If you like it, that's fine. I'll eat what I'm comfortable with. I had beans and rice. I had some chicken. I think it was chicken. They said it was chicken. Or maybe they were saying, go ahead and try it, chicken. But I don't know how they worded that. But this is where we would eat. We ate about 4 meals here. And it's crazy because we packed their dining room. Just filled it. There's no electricity. That's why the curtain's open so we can actually see. But they were so honored to just have us in their home and eat there. They would actually come in, get us set down, and then they would leave and just let us really have a time of fellowship and eating there. And it was awesome. This is Grant's tent. I didn't even mean to take this picture. I took this picture accidentally, but this is actually inside the school building. We hung our hammocks up. Grant slept in the corner, and then the rest of this room is hammocks swinging clear across the building. Nobody got a good picture of it because by the time we got set up, it was dark. And then in the morning, we were in a rush. We ripped everything down, and as we're packing up the last thing, Pastor Mulcullough goes, "Hey, did somebody get a picture of this?" And we're like, "Now you ask." But it was just cool to. This is the room where I told you that we would be hanging our hammocks up in the steel bars, and there's little kids on the outside, and all you could see was eyeballs looking at you, and you're like, "Hey," you know. It's a little nerve-wracking, but it all turned out well. This little one. She's literally sitting there. There's a little dirt pile in front of her, and she's just grabbing it, and she's just eating away. And, you know, she's not in a hurry. She's just watching everything going on. Finally, a little girl, probably about 9, came over, scoops her up, gets her hand free of the dirt. And I do not know what this plastic bag is tied around her hand, but she walked around with it. It's just tied there, and there's like a big, she just thought it was great. So here they are. This little ball actually popped while we were there. And we were devastated because we thought, oh no, we broke his little ball. But what he does is he'll take this wrapping around it, he'll loosen it up, and he'll put a balloon inside there, blow it up, and then he takes string, wraps it around the balloon, and then tightens that wrap back around, and he's got another soccer ball. We watched him do it. It was amazing. So when it popped, we were like, and he was just kind of like, oh, okay. And we're like, and then later we see him sitting there, and he's wrapping it. And I'm like, oh, that's why he wasn't too concerned. He'll just remake it. But just look how happy they are. I mean, they're all smiling, and that's their toy that they all have to share. And you can tell their clothes are donations, hand-me-downs, and like I really don't think he picked a shirt with a woman's face on it. It just happened to be the shirt that fit him that day. There's Grant. Grant he's just a go-getter all the time. He's happy no matter what's going on. I think you could, tar and feather him. He'd like, praise Jesus. He's a good guy. And Andrew here, he's from Texas, but he's not designed for that pressure. Him and I compared notes a lot. I'm like, you still breathing? He goes, I'm just barely. I was like, me too. We had to encourage each other along a lot of the way. But again, the kids just hanging around watching. There were times where the adults had to, I didn't realize she's picking her nose up there, or thinking, I saw a lot of that too. And they're not embarrassed about it. They'll be talking to you. I'm like, okay, I didn't need to see that. But that's one of the villages. And if you notice in the background, you've got, some of them have tin roofs, and then there's a hut with a grass roof. If you see the grass roofs, you know you're really reaching into poverty because they can't afford tin roofs, so they just build it that way. And it's amazing how they're happy just with what they don't have. Here is right after we preached. These are some young guys praying. And it's just amazing how open they are. There's also some adult guys you can see in the corner there just praying. And just how open they are, how sensitive they are. And it's crazy how attentive they are while they're... Now, I can tell you, this little guy's not praying. He's playing in the dirt and watching everybody else. But the other ones are sincerely praying. Here's some of the young men. This is actually the chief of the village right there. He got saved, and he was really hoping we could start a church there this week. He really wants a church there, and so that's one of the places they'll be trying to get a pastor to go to and really start a... And the chiefs have a lot of authority. Like, this is what Pastor McCullough was explaining to us. You go in, you make contact with the chief, and then you get permission. And not that the chief turns them down, but you have to, like, we sit in these meetings and talk to the interpreter tells the chief, and the chief comes back, and it takes a little while, but every time it was like, yeah, bring it, come on in and preach the gospel and show the film, So it was good just to see that openness again. This little guy, he was the highlight of our day. Again, I think that's his older sister, kind of correcting him. And in the live photo, she's like, and he goes, "Good," you know, and he's just happy. But you look at his little pants there, and they're not new. And if you see the back seam, he has a blowout, a serious blowout. Like he's got air conditioning like nobody's business, that shows off his own business. And we cracked up every time because he'd bend over to pick something up, and it's like everything's hanging out, you know. And I have to tell, Brother McCullough and Brother Paul were trying to figure out if he had underwear on. And Brother McCullough's like, "No, I think he has a pair of black underwear on." And so they're like going back and forth about this. And what it was is it's the elastic from the pants that is black. And the one time he bent over and Brother Paul goes, "All he's got is what the good Lord gave him under there." And so, but again, just look how happy he is. He doesn't even have a care in the world other than his sister straightening him out about something. And again, just more kids sitting around spying on. I think this is where we set up our hammocks. And they literally, like we have our hammocks kind of set up in a U shape. And these kids just came up and they kept moving in closer and closer and closer. And there was a security guard that came over and he would shoo them back about 10 feet. And then within 10 minutes they're back. And he'd come back and shoo them back 10 feet. And that went on for quite a while. Then he finally told them to get out of here. And they went over and played. But this is during a rainstorm. You can see the puddles laying around. And that is Merlin's tent that's set up there. He had a rain cap and everything. And when it started raining, these little kids, they saw them two sitting in there, and so they just went right up under the rain cap with them. And thankfully, by the time Merlin had to go to sleep, they had all gone to their homes. But it was here's my hammock. This is the water laying in my air mattress, which, you know, I was wondering how wet is that going to be when I have to sleep in it. But thankfully, it all dried out by the time we had to go to bed. Then this is where I set up my hammock eventually over there. I only took that picture to prove that I did. And then the guys were jealous of me. That's my stuff inside a contractor bag that Nathan reminded me as I was leaving the house on that Monday. He's like, "Hey, you might want to take a contractor bag." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah." So I got my contractor bag. I threw all my stuff in it, and they were like, "That is brilliant." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a trained professional." No, but and this is just looking off into the sunset there. Beautiful area, just amazing. Another picture just looking off in the distance. This is all the kids. This is the screen they play the Jesus film on. We set it up early in the day, and then you have to wait till dark so that they can see it. But this is them all gathering, getting ready for it, and just literally just hanging around talking until we play the film. Here's the little pig. He's looking over the pile at you. And I took that picture not just for the little pig, but this is our bathroom. There's a hole in the ground on this side and a squatty potty on this side. If you don't know what a squatty potty is, go Google it. It is not something you'd want to install in your home, but it was handy to have the bathroom that close to where our hammocks were set up. This is Pastor McCullough, Pastor Junior, and Pastor Andrew, and this is one of the men from the village there. And they're actually having a conversation. That man asked, "When can we start a church here?" And Pastor McCullough was like, he's like, "I wish we had a pastor we could just send out here, but we don't." And so he was just encouraging him to pray. We were telling him to, because we handed out Bibles there, we were kind of encouraging him to just read his Bible and then get other men encouraged about reading their Bible and even have like a Bible study and then we would talk to them about getting a church started. But it's heartbreaking to see them wanting a church so bad and not having a man to go there. This is just an area. There's actually a dam back here, and this is looking away from the dam. That's the water running from the dam. You're not supposed to take pictures in this area. I don't know why, but as we were coming in, they were like, no pictures, no pictures, no pictures. We went past it, went up to a village. That's where we stayed overnight. And then on our way back, they said, oh, you can take pictures now. It's tradition. I'm like, well, it was against the law yesterday. How's it tradition today? But it was because we were finishing our visit and we were leaving. It's tradition when you leave to take some pictures. So we were able to get some pictures of the area. That's the dam. It's weird. It's amazing, but you got these little villages all around where they have nothing, and then you see this big monstrosity. It's amazing. That is Moses. He's the one that was the mason. That's his house right there. This is the house where we ate. This is the outside of that dining room. And again, that tarp does not normally hang there. They put that up just for the missionaries that are coming. And again, that's Brother Junior. And they're just talking about when and how they can start a church in that area. These are two thieves, they call it in Africa. No. You can't see it really clear, but under my hat, there's a very light spot, and then my complexion changes. That is dirt from the motorcycle ride. And obviously Paul has the same thing going on. Marlon back here, he's got the same thing. If you can see Pastor Andrew in the back, he's suffering from the same disease called dirt bike syndrome. But we're sitting in a bus terminal getting ready to get on a bus and go 120 kilometers, about 80 miles, I think, back to Lubumbashi. This is after our adventures into the villages. And there is Sheena and Shanna, and they're both adorable. That is Pastor Junior's wife, and the little one, she kills me. But this is that again. That's Moses' house, and these are all the people that gathered around to see the Musungu, and just literally just hanging around. Look at the sky, though. I mean, it was like postcard worthy. Crazy. There they are again. There's Moses and just all the kids. I wish I had a picture of his wife. She was a tough cookie. When she came out of her house, oh, there we go. That's where I finally got to hold her. And she does this thing. Her mom says, small mouth, and this is what we get. But she was making faces at us all week. I tried to do the fish thing, and so she would try to do it. She's like, and that's the most I would get, except when her mom threw her into my lap. This is one of the times she was backing up against me, but would not look at me, wouldn't even entertain the idea of me picking her up. She backed up there and she'd look at herself leaning up against me, and that was it. There's me, yes. This is during the rainstorm under my hammock.
How's it going out there?
Good. Beautiful.
You do your promo now.
Yeah. Here at Mission Uttermost.
What I just said is we filter our water, even through our hammocks. And so that was an adventure. Again, by the time it was time for us to go to sleep, it was all dry, just because of the temperature and the nice breeze.
How's it going out there?
There we go. Got him again. That was only one picture. Here's this is Brother Paul. Now, again, they stayed another week after I left, and so this is him ending his next week. literally just worn out and drained. But Pastor McCullough said, I think this is the picture we should show because this is what Africa does to you. Literally wear you out. But there is me. Resetting my clock. I got in Friday night. That's me on Saturday. So just trying to catch up on what I didn't get to sleep there. Notice I have my phone right there in case any of my church people call. It is on vibrate. I will not hear it. But that's me just trying to recover. All right, I think that's the last video or last picture. If we could have the lights. Any questions? Any people wanting to go? It was awesome. I would do this. I would encourage you. If you've never been on a missions trip, you need to set up and go. Again, it's out of my comfort zone, but it was awesome just to be there. And I told my wife, I know Pastor McCullough warned you about saying, Pastor, how was your vacation? But there were parts of it that felt like a vacation because we would sit around joking and laughing and just talking. I told my wife I didn't have to solve one person's problem for 2 weeks. It was like heaven. But again, it was just awesome. The opportunity was amazing. And Pastor McCullough is ready anytime to take people. So if you're wanting to go, think about it, and we'll get you set up. I want to plug this really quick. They have the prayer and prep camp in West Virginia in June. If you're thinking about going, let me know, because we'd like to take a group down if we can. And it really is helpful because there were things that I learned on that trip, and I kind of checkmarked them. I'm like, Pastor, we need to have this in the prayer and prep camp because there's things we weren't ready for, we didn't know about, and so it would be an awesome opportunity to go down to that. Any questions? My shirt, yes. On the way there, Pastor McCullough said, would you like an authentic African shirt? I'm like, yeah, who wouldn't? And a guy actually came to the house we were staying in, measured us, and then made these. I've got this one, another one I'll probably wear one of these Sunday nights, and then I've got one coming. He wasn't done with my third one, so when I get that one, surprise, surprise, I don't know what it looks like. And it might look like Jim's. Him and I might be twins. I don't know. But it's just amazing that he made this. And, I mean, we had to pay for it, but it wasn't a lot of money. So it was just a blessing to be able to wear it tonight. Ben, how'd you charge your phone? Crazy as it sounds, when we were in Zambia, in the lodge, there was electricity. And Ahmed had given me an adapter for plugs outside the country, which I didn't even think of. And in that adapter, he had all the ones I would need. When we were out in the village, I actually had a solar-powered battery that I charged it from. And it's amazing to me that it's not uncommon to see a cell phone out there. It was weird. It's like, and I told my wife, I'm sitting in one of the villages, and I'm looking, and there's a cell tower. And I'm like, we didn't have roofs on our houses, but we have a cell tower. And I text her, hi, and it went. And I'm like, what? And so that was a blessing. But that's how I charged it most of the time. That little battery pack lasted for like 4 charges. So that was. Our fresh water, that is a funny story. We have water filters that we took with us, and so we could filter water from anywhere, but we didn't have to use them because Pastor Junior kept buying bottled water, and every time we turned around, he's got more bottled water. And Pastor McCullough's like, listen, we're supposed to be on missions trip. We're supposed to be filtering our water. If you keep giving us fresh water, we can't. We did have to filter some because even when you're in their local area, even if it's tap water, you have to filter it. And so we just run it through a filter. And they tell me they said you can go to the sewer, sift out the water, and these filters will clean it. And I'm like, praise God for you and your faith. I'm not sure I'm ready to go there yet, but we had filters for the water. Nighttime, it depends on who you talk to. I know, but I'm running conversations through my mind. These guys, all of them had blankets, and they're like, "Oh, it was chilly last night," and I'm like, "Where were you sleeping?" And I had the most air flowing through my thing. I'm like, "It was not chilly, fellas." I was laying there in my shorts and t-shirt going, one night I had a little sheet that I pulled up on me. That was it. So it was probably, had to be right around 70 degrees at night. During the day it would get up a little higher, maybe 82 if you're in the sun. And there was a nice cool breeze, so it wasn't bad at all. It was really hot on the motorcycle, but that may have just been the closeness of other individuals.
You had mentioned one guy was Catholic.
Yeah.
Right? Were any of these people any religion at all? Did they know anything? And then the second question, were there any other cults that have shown up in your area? For instance, there's JWs everywhere.
Right.
There's Mormons everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. You would see, what's that? Yes. She asked about the one guy that I mentioned is Catholic. That was the Filipino guy in the Filipino community. Adrian, what are you doing out there? Get in here. Peek around the corner and pretend I didn't see you. Sit down. But he was Catholic. That was, again, in Zambia, Lusaka, Zambia. I couldn't come up with the name earlier. And so very Catholic in that area. As we were traveling to the Congo, you would see Catholic churches, JW Kingdom Halls, all up through there. The village we were in, where Moses brought us into, there was actually, we came up on this building, and it's kind of a round hut, grass roof, and it's got like seats around inside. They're just literally concrete thing. It looked more like a game you would play than a church, but it was a Seventh-day Adventist church. So there's religions getting in there. And Pastor McCullough said this. He said, whoever gets here first gets the kids. And so that's the urgency of getting there. But yeah, there's already, and the one night we were falling asleep in the school building, and I heard African drums in the distance and hooping and hollering, and I'm like, oh, that's it, we're going to see Jesus tonight. But I don't know if somebody was having a party or whatever in the distance, because it went on for like an hour or so, and then it kind of died out, and I didn't hear anybody banging on the door to get us. But there are other cults already moving in. Yeah, it is a huge area. They showed us a picture of it, and it is, I want to say, larger than 7 states, including Texas. So that's pretty big. And so, it's this huge part of Africa. Christine, did I send you the picture of that we could put? It's on the keychain. Okay, yeah, but I want to kind of I'm going to send you a picture quick, if you can, just to give you an idea of how big it really is. Because, again, we're traveling and traveling and traveling, and I'm thinking, we got to be running out of the Congo. And when you look at a map, we hadn't even, we'd gone 53 miles, but it wasn't even that much of a distance. We did not see elephants. We didn't see tigers. We didn't see anything. Yeah, it does look like the United States. That's the pink area. That's just to give you an idea. This is Zambia. We came up through Zambia into the Congo. You can see the Congo is outlined pretty big there. Again, Texas and several other states is just the area of Congo. That is That is a map of Africa with the United States superimposed over it. For those of you that think it looks like America, it does. But the Congo is all this centerpiece here. It's just huge. And we were probably in like this little part. We weren't even touching. Now, Pastor McCullough and Paul did travel up through and then came back down. But again, it's like the vastness of trying to reach this whole area is just unbelievable. But that's how big the Congo is. Any other questions? Yeah, there is. We didn't necessarily see anything that was like in the villages, you know, like a witch doctor's hut or anything. But even in the shops that we went to buy souvenirs at, is a lot of just witchcraft stuff, masks and all sorts of different things that you could. So it's definitely a predominant part of kind of their whole culture. But I didn't meet any witch doctors while I was there. Yes, it's all back. That's a good question. It's crazy because the one village we went into, Pastor McCullough just wanted to kind of introduce who we were, but the crowd just went. I mean, it went crazy, and he was just like, "I'm just going to preach," and he did. And I mean, all he did was went through the bracelet and what it means. And just a simple plan of salvation. And there was probably, just in the group I was with him, it was kind of the teenagers and adults, and then the young kids were down at another place. There was probably 120 right there that trusted Christ. And then later that night, we showed the Jesus film. So, I mean, I wouldn't say that one outweighs the other. I would say it just kind of dovetails. Yeah, they're amazed as we're setting up the screen. They're like trying to figure out what we're doing. And then, you know, when you actually turn the projector on and there's this, you know, something showing, they're like glued to it. But yeah, it's pretty.
What kind of access do they have to get off any kind of medical care? What if a kid
Huh.
fell down and needed, like here, you'd run them to the ER.
Right.
What can they do?
I'll just tell you what I saw. I saw little kids with open wounds on their legs, literally flies crawling on their wounds, on their feet. Just no, like we would, you know, a Band-Aid or something we'd put on it. Nothing. They just let it heal. So there's no, and God forbid something serious happen, you're probably not going to make it. It's sad, but that's not a lot of medical treatment there. In fact, they were probably safer while we were there because we had more medical stuff with us than all the villages had combined. And we didn't have to do anything as far as treating anybody, but we were ready to if needed. Any other questions? Yes. You know, it's weird because it's literally just a cement block building with desks in it. There's not even, like you would think, oh, breaking in, stealing stuff. There's nothing to take. And so I don't know, if the school, it was obviously built by some other country, like humanitarian came in and built this school building or whatever, because it wasn't built out of their regular red brick. It was actually concrete blocks and then finished somewhat well when it was finished, however many years ago. But the only thing I can think it was just to keep the kids out, not giving them access to, because there's really nothing to steal. So probably just don't come in. It's kind of weird. Sarah. They do. We actually met one that's an English teacher, but like we tried to figure out if they had set hours for the school, and it kind of looks like whatever kids happen to show up, they teach them. And there's stuff on the walls that, would appear they're actually trying to learn English, and they have a vocabulary up there, and most of the stuff they have is either French or English. But as far as I know, the one village we were in, there was only one teacher. So she had everybody from whatever grade to whatever grade. And not even that they go by our grades, because when we were teaching at the one school, Pastor Ricky said, oh yeah, this is 3rd and 4th grade, and we go there and they're like 13 and 14. I'm like, there's a different grading system here. But it didn't look like there was enough teachers for the building that were there. Just one that we met. It's, well, Moses is a mason, and he travels into the city to work. So he would go in and be gone all week, earn money and come back. And their money, like the guys that drove us in on the bikes, 52 miles, they got $15 a piece for driving us that distance. So it's peanuts, really. But most of them, a mason or a carpenter, and they have to travel into the city to make money, because there's nothing out there. There's no money out in the villages for you to even, like, all they do out there is barter. There's no transactions going back and forth. So I do have to say this really quick. Brother McCullough said, I didn't get a picture of this, I should have, but he warned us about having stuff stolen. I remember him mentioning it when he was here preaching, that you even have to be careful as you're in the road if your windows are down. And, so we were kind of paying attention to that, but not really. We got to this one area in town where, there were just people crowded all around. We're sitting in dead stop traffic, and all of a sudden somebody reaches in the window and grabs his cell phone and took off. And it happened so fast. It was bang, it's gone. And so he's panicking, trying to get his phone shut off and trying to get this. And so we're all we're sitting there. We pulled off the side of the road. And, I'm going, he warned us, but we saw it happen. And I'm like, I don't know what to do now. I don't know what are you going to do? Well, Junior, the native there, he gets out and disappears. And he goes back to about where it was stolen. And we look back and we see him with his arm around somebody. And he's just having a conversation. And we're like, so a stolen phone, and he's going to negotiate. That's what he did. He comes back in a couple minutes with the phone. Now, the person he was talking to was not the kid that stole it, but he saw the kid that stole it. And so Junior, being from that culture, understood, if I can get him to communicate with the kid that stole it, we can negotiate to get the phone back. It costs $100 to get the phone back. But you take that and compare it with having to get a new phone, shutting that one off, way cheaper. And so that's what they do. That's how they make money. You asked about how they make money? Yeah. They steal somebody's phone and then sell it back to them. And it's better, he said, if we had called the police, that kid, you never would have seen him. Never would have heard from him. But if you go and just talk to the people, somebody will make contact with him, and then we can get the phone back. And we were there maybe 15 minutes. So yeah, if you go on a trip to Zambia or to the Congo, if the windows are down, keep your phone hidden. If you're going through that area, every time we go through that area afterwards, the driver of the vehicle, we'd get to the area and you'd hear the windows go zzz, because they didn't want us losing anything else. But it happened quick. Any other questions? That's the same question they asked me over there. I can tell you, for me, it'll be a couple years. I would love to go back. I plan to go back. But my focus, my plan would be to allow other people to make the trip. And, really, well, not only generous, but I need a break. It is. By the way, they did go out one night late and get ice cream. They did. I stayed at the house. I'm like, y'all go get the ice cream. They went with the they went with the natives, and they went to a store that he knew, and I was like, yeah, have fun, get the ice cream. I did eat it when they got back though. Took care of that, but that's Josh. Yes, I did. Which ones I don't know. I met several of the college students, and I was introduced as Pastor Bell from Cornerstone Baptist Church. His church supports several of you. And the whole student body looked at me, and in unison, thank you so much. And I'm like, you're welcome. I don't know which one of you we support, but Pastor McCullough is working on getting detailed bios on each of them, and he'll be sending us information. They put together a form for the college students to fill out so that we'll have some information about them. So hopefully here in the near future we'll be able to have a picture, name, and all that kind of stuff. But I did get to meet some of the ones that we support. Huge blessing. Anything else? All right. This thing went longer than I thought it would. So I'm going to go ahead and close in a word of prayer. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. We have keychains that I was able to purchase while I was there. Nathan, you want to hand these out? I would suggest this. If you have keys, take a keychain. My concern, I don't mind. Yeah, just have your hand. Raise your hand if you want a keychain. If there's enough, we can get the younger kids one. But I don't know that I have enough for everybody. 30-something. Yeah, we'd be close. So I don't even have one. Yeah. Oh. Made over there, I bought them in one of the shops, and just shopping over there. If you've ever been to another country, this happened in the Dominican Republic. Those of you that went to the Dominican Republic remember this, but you go into a shop, and as soon as they see you near their stand, they're on you. It's like, and I don't know how many times I got called boss and chief. Like, boss, you need this, and they'd hand me something I wasn't even interested in. I'm like, no, I'm not, no. And I've gotten really good at saying no. So one of the things I did, I was looking for little wooden water buffaloes. And they had bigger ones, but I said, no, this big, about that big. They say, why water buffaloes? How many of you know VeggieTales? Everybody has a water buffalo. So my plan was to buy all of my family a water buffalo so we could sing that song. Everybody's got a water buffalo, mine is fast and yours is slow. But they didn't have water buffaloes that I could afford for all of my family. So I just sent my family a text, and I said, apparently everybody does not have a water buffalo. But as you're in there trying to shop, like, I wanted something I could bring back and get everybody one. I'm not getting you all a water buffalo. It's too much money, I know. Rebecca will never forgive me. But the only thing we could find that you could really buy in bulk and not have an issue about was the keychains. And so I said, well, that's it. That's what I'm going to have to go with. And I was sneaky. Pastor Andrew from Texas was trying to get keychains because he's a youth pastor, junior church teacher. He's like, I'm bringing keychains back for all my kids. I need 100 of them or 50 of them. I can't remember what he needed. But he's like, so I let him, this is terrible, I'm evil, but I let him do all the bartering. And, you know, the guy's running him up and down. And then we walked away from that guy because he was too expensive. We went to the other building, and the guy gave us half price from what he wanted. I'm like, this is where I'm buying mine. And so we bought, I think I got a total of 50, and I think he got 50 or something. But just as you're walking through, they're picking stuff up off of their thing. They tried to sell me little wooden handmade canoes with a whole family in them with oars and everything. And I'm like, I don't know. Everybody does not have a wooden canoe. And so I would just tell them, I said, listen, water buffalo. If you can bring me a water buffalo, several of them, I'll buy. I said, aside from that, I had guys bringing me just pieces of rock that were, they're from the mines there, and it'd be cool to have. But he's walking, he's following me around with all these different rocks. He's like, no, boss, and chief. And I'm like, I'm a pastor. I'm not a chief or a boss. Well, technically I'm a boss. But he's just following me around. And I finally look at him and I go, water buffalo. Little water buffalo? I'll buy 10 of them. And he's like, no water buffalo. And I'm like, that was English, buddy. But they're constantly on you. You just have to learn to say no. And that's one of the things they need to put at the prayer and prep camp. Especially for younger people, be ready to just go ahead and say no. They don't get offended. They're just going to keep coming back. You'll get offended before they do. And so it's definitely interesting. Yes, the DRC is Democratic Republic of Congo. I looked at it the first time, like, DRC, what's that stand for? And then I realized, put it all together. But it was a great opportunity to be there. And again, if you're interested in going to the prayer and prep camp, let me know. It would be a great blessing. I think it's the middle of June this year. Maybe some of you wives are like, I need a break from my husband. Just take him to the prayer and prep camp. It's fine. We'll take him down there. But all right, if there's nothing else, I'm going to close in a word of prayer. Father in heaven, we do thank you for the opportunity to be in your house. Lord, I thank you for the opportunity we have to be a part of world missions. And Lord, I thank you for the privilege of being able to go and to travel and to see what it is that our money supports. And Lord, we just thank you for, Lord, giving us the opportunity to see souls saved around the globe. And Lord, just pray that you would keep our heart as a church tender toward missions. Lord, not that we just be mission-minded, but that we'd be mission-hearted and even mission-feeded. And Lord, that is the idea of going. And I just pray that you would continue to use us in this area. I pray that you would just keep your hand upon the work there in the Congo. And Lord, I thank you for the national pastors and those that are in Bible college there. And Lord, we just look forward to what you're going to do. Lord, again, we just thank you for this time. Pray that you give us safety now as we travel. And we ask this all in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.